Welcome back to another episode of Compliance Insiders. I'm your host, Roger Fendelman. Really glad you're here this week. Today we have Felicia Flea Bowers, Chief Compliance Officer of Homeowners Financial Group. She's back with us today to talk about getting back to the office. Let's join the conversation in progress. There is so much going on right now that it seems almost hard to believe, like a fantasy, but it's really coming true and everybody's preparing to get back. And I know that you have been doing a tremendous amount with your team to prepare your company for everybody back into the office. So just to kick this off, how you feeling?
So, I'm feeling pretty good. I am the only person in the office right now, which is kind of creepy. And I noticed a lot of infrastructure going on with our buildings where there's now one door label as entrance, one door label as an exit only, even though there are two doors right next to each other, two big glass doors.
Yeah.
The stairwells are labeled. This way is up only. This way is down only. There's signs on the elevator, no more than two people, 6 feet apart in the elevator. So it's interesting to see what the transition is happening, at least in our building, as well as what's going to be occurring in our office.
Right. There's a surrealness to it, but it's coming true. So, and we were just talking a second ago about when you go up to the second floor and you've left your pen or notepad downstairs and you have to go back and get it. You have to go all the way back around to the downstairs and then get it, come all the way back up to the upstairs. And so productivity hit there maybe, but one of those things we just have to deal with.
Oh yeah, and if there's an emergency evacuation, I'm taking whatever stairwell's available. So,
I would too.
I'm going to break the law.
So, but you've been putting a lot of thought into this. So, as you're planning for back to work, back to the office, what are some of the key considerations that you've had to struggle with in order to get the right balance of rules, requirements, and really getting people back into the office?
So, I have to give a big shout out to our Director of Corporate Culture, HR Manager, Caroline Connor, for steering us in the right direction on this. The challenges that we faced in rolling out a plan, and any company is going to face, is the more states, the more cities, the more counties that you do business in, the more rules you're going to have, because there is no synchronization of rules across any of those areas. Case in point is what is deemed a temperature, a body temperature that would allow you to come back to work. In some states, it's 100.4. The worst case scenario was one state that had 99.6. So we rolled out one plan company-wide. If you were running a temperature of 99.6 or higher, you're staying home.
Mm-hmm.
So those are, that was just something minor that we had to think about. Besides rolling this out in phases, we have phase one kicks in actually on Monday. We have about 30 employees that want to return back to the corporate office. The rest are still holding off and working remote, but we have strict cleaning rules that are going in place. All of our branches received cleaning kits with disinfectant and rubber gloves and PPE devices and, all of the requirements to keep their offices clean. There's going to be mandatory cleaning of your workstations when you come in the morning and when you leave at night, as well as facilities walking around all day long cleaning door handles if you come in and out. We have also rolled out, unfortunately, all of the common areas are going to be off base. So that means the snack machine, coffee machine, water machine, refrigerators, the break room in all states that we do business in are off limits. They're going to be closed off, with the exception of California, which says you have to leave that room open. You can take away the amenities, but you have to leave a break room open. So we had to set that up, 6 feet apart. Conference room chairs, they've all been removed, except for every 6 feet. If you come into work on Monday, you have to wear a personal protection face mask if you're going anywhere in the common area. In my office, I can close the door, take the mask off, and breathe. Everyone else is going to have to be sitting out there with a face mask on the whole time they're at work. And that discouraged a lot of people from coming back. They want to wait to see what happens in phase two.
Yeah. So when you have these cleaning kits, does that mean that the staff has to do the cleaning? So if they touch a doorknob, they have to wipe it themselves? Or is it there so they can wipe it before they touch it? Do they have to wear gloves?
Yeah, so the cleaning kits that were dispersed out to the retail offices, there's going to be one or two employees designated as the individuals who are responsible for the cleaning. Here at corporate, we have a facilities department that's going to do that. And they're, like I said, going to go around every 30 minutes and wipe everything down. In the branches, when they're remote, we had to designate employees, give them the instructions on what had to be cleaned, how it had to be cleaned, what you have to wear, which kind of opens Pandora's box in that what if someone develops an allergic reaction to the cleaning solutions or breathing in the fumes or something. So,
Mhm.
I mean, just the simple cleaning aspect could open up more unfortunate repercussions of this virus.
I see. So that makes sense. And what percentage of your team do you want back in the office? And what percentage of the team actually have a desire to come back? And who wants to stay home?
So we have about 30% of the people who want to come back in. Excuse me. The rest don't. It was as simple as somebody saying, I don't want to wear a mask all day, so I'll just stay home,
Mhm.
to the employees who are maybe in a higher risk group or live with a higher risk individual who wanted to stay home because they didn't want that additional
Yeah.
exposure.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm in the age group that's considered a higher risk. I've got one underlying medical issue that they put in the higher risk category, but staying home is driving me nuts. I'm coming to work. So the dogs have me pegged in that they come over all the time, put their head on my lap, and they want a dog bone. And to get them to leave me alone, they get a dog bone. So
Yeah,
it's like,
right.
no,
I've got
you
the
guys
same
need to
thing.
lose weight too. Yeah. So
Right. I totally sympathize. So, with 30%, do you need to do staggered ABC teams? Can all 30% be accommodated in your buildings, or how's that working?
So we had some space in a building across the street that was underutilized. We're going to deploy some of the workforce over there, but otherwise, no, we are able to accommodate a 6-foot gap from all employees that are in cubicles. And if anyone shared an office, then of course they're going to have to stagger. But because we
Mhm.
were able to redeploy resources into another commercial space that we had leased, we're able to accommodate everyone who wants to come back right now.
Right. So you guys are some of the lucky ones, which is great. And what about the 70% of your staff is deciding to stay at home, and what guidelines do you have for them? Because I've been, and people I've been speaking with, some colleagues have been mentioning things like uh, home ergonomic requirements.
So we are taking those into consideration. If somebody has an issue, then they reach out to our IT department. I think our greatest concern, and any employer's greatest concern, is a potential drop in productivity. Right now, productivity has been high with everyone, and I think every company is experiencing the same productivity, heights that have been met because everything else is closed. But as the rest of the world starts to open back up, it's like you can decide today, I can go get my nails done at 10, and then I'll meet Susie for lunch at noon, and I'll just pick back up and go back to work this afternoon. Nobody will know. I think we're going to see a little shock in the productivity standards, that they might dip just a little bit as the world reopens.
That's an interesting thought because there's a lot of discussion around that. Maybe it's the optimist in me. I think productivity, this is my Rogers prediction, not legal advice. I think that the productivity levels are going to balance out when everybody gets used to this to roughly the same as where they were pre-COVID-19. And I say that because I just have this feeling people are just going to do a certain amount of work every day. It doesn't matter the format. So if you take away their commutes, especially in cities like where I live, where the commute could be an hour and a half, 2 hours to get into Manhattan, if you take that out of the equation, the person has a tremendous amount of time that freed up to do what they need to do. And I think people do and what's required of them, forgetting about the outliers. So it'll be interesting to see if things like that will actually translate into the same amount of work getting done. And I think a lot of people out there are feeling very watched at home because the systems, the technology put in place by their employers are doing a pretty good job of monitoring their how much they're online and where they are and things like that. So um, yeah, but I'm it's the optimist in me. There could be a drop in productivity. It'll be interesting to see. But I'm also seeing people, especially on the HR side, being a little concerned about employee health at home. So that the example that was given, thanks, Lauren, was if you have an employee that just doesn't have a good office space in their home and they're doing their work on their laptop, sitting on their couch all day, slumped over. Well, they could experience some pain after a while, and that could drive up costs. They may be put in some type of jeopardy for that. It could be, aches and pains, but it could be more than that as well over the long term. So, I don't know if that's. I don't think anybody really knows when it comes to protecting your staff, but also comp claims, how that's all going to play out.
That's true.
I see my connection's unstable. Okay.
There's still some sources out there that you can send individuals out to do an ergonomic evaluation of home offices. They're going to have the personal protection devices and take all the precautionary measures. But if you have an employee who is experiencing some of those ergonomic issues, then the specialist is going to go to the home and will still do an evaluation and tell them this is how you need to work and this is what you need to do. And if the employee fails to follow those instructions, it's going to be the same rules that they do here at the office. You still have the same risk if someone needs their feet elevated or something like that. I think most of us are aware that sitting on the couch in a slouching position all day trying to do work is not conducive to our back and our shoulders and our necks and stuff, but we're still going to have those risks and some of those problems, and they're not going to go away. Even if people stay remote, they're still going to be present.
Right, that's true. What do you think the costs are for lenders for implementing all of this? Do you think the costs are going up, or do you think, ultimately they may go down, because if it turns out, and we don't know yet whether the long-term ramifications are more people working at home, less need for office space, obviously that's a huge save. If you have to invest in cleaning products and masks, I don't think that's a big expense for anybody, so that's not a big deal. Have you noticed a shift in cost either going up or down, or staying the same?
So initially we had a good outlay of expenses as it relates to pulling our kits together, our disinfecting kits and the things that we were going to send out in those kits. I think that will level off in time as the CDC relaxes or changes some of their rules, or even some of the states change some of their rules if they don't see an uptick in coronavirus cases. We took it, and the next step for the PPE devices, we're going to have portable masks available for people, but we also went out and got Homeowners Financial Group branded face masks. So people have, our brand when they're walking around with their PPE device on. And so everyone is going to get a couple of those. They're cloth, and they meet the standards of the CDC. They just need to wash them, of course. Yeah. But we took on some of that additional expense to save our employees that expense. They can wear their own devices too. If someone has some designer ones that they've ordered, or, some other little product like the SPCA or something, they can wear those as long as they meet the standards. And I think you're going to find some of us with a little more vanity than others want to have a little more bling or some other look to our little face covering. So you're going to see some creativity in that area.
Right. It's a good business to be in right now.
Oh, my gosh, Amazon, and I see sites everywhere where they're advertising face masks. So it is definitely a good business to be in right now.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess finally, now that summer's here and we're implementing this summertime plan, we have to be looking forward to the fall, because it seems as if the uncertainty around COVID-19, there's a lot of suggestions that there could be an uptick in spreading of the virus in this fall. So are you thinking ahead to that time period yet, Plan B, which presumably would be everybody's going back home again?
So we have 3 phases that we've looked at. So the phase 1 goes into effect on Monday, June 8th. Phase 2 is the next group of individuals who there's a little more time has passed. They're familiar with what's going on in the state and the federal level with regards to the disease. And Phase 2 implementation, return to work, is scheduled for after Labor Day. Phase 3 right now is the final phase, and we have it targeted actually for January 4th. We're not looking for a full workforce until the first of the year. That'll give us 9 months under our belts, universally across the United States and the world, basically, of this virus, what needs to happen, whether there's any vaccinations available, what cleaning protocols work, don't work, what is just never going to work, that sort of thing.
Right.
So the next 2 dates are fluid, but those are the targeted dates that we have right now.
That makes sense. Any before we go, any words of advice to someone who hasn't really planned out their return to work plan?
So there are a plethora of sites that have checklists and plans. The CDC has one, OSHA has one. OSHA, of course, would be a great one because that affects everything at work. And a lot of the law firms have put together checklists and things that you need to consider. But everyone just really needs to factor in that, it's going to be your employee protection first. What's best for your employees and what's necessary, because they are your greatest asset and they are your biggest expense a lot of times. And you want to make sure that they are definitely 100% protected. And you have to be clear in communicating to them. Our employees are going to have to do a health questionnaire. So one of the things compliance personnel as well as HR needs to understand when they do that health questionnaire, that those need to go back to HR. You have HIPAA privacy concerns. If somebody suddenly tests positive or has a temperature, you have to communicate that to the people who are around them or that they interacted with in the office, to make those individuals aware that, okay, someone is running a temperature, you may want to go home and take 14 days in quarantine. And as a reminder to anyone who's paying attention, or who's listening to the call right now, also, under the CARES Act that just passed, you have to give employees 2 weeks paid leave if they were sent home, if they were required to quarantine, or if they actually came down or the family member came down with the virus. So that you can't make someone take their PTO to cover for this. You have to give them 2 weeks pay. So a lot of employers may not have paid attention to some of that, and they need to make sure they do. But HIPAA privacy is going to be a big issue around this whole COVID virus thing.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of issues because we can envision a lot of scenarios where you have staffing issues that are unresolvable, but we can't think of them all. And no matter how hard you try to protect the well-being of your teams, things are going to arise, and we just have to deal with that and batten down the hatches and wait for it to happen. But we're going to have another discussion, and we're going to talk about that in the coming weeks because it's going to be a hot topic. So, Flea, again, as always, thanks so much for being here and joining us. Great intel, and look forward to our next discussion.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Stay safe.
Are you a compliance insider? Then go to compliancepodcast.com immediately and join our mailing list so you never miss an episode. Got something to say? Request to be on the show. Go to compliancepodcast.com with your topic ideas. And as always, thank you for listening.